After the frankly terrible evening we had with Final Fantasy XI a couple weeks ago, I needed a bit of a nostalgic throwback to restore some of the happiness deep down inside. It was a bad night. It's okay though. This happens. It's the magic of Final Fantasy XI. If every night was good, none of them would be. They'd all be average. Right? Anyways, which is the perfect time for another visit to the Brady Games guide. This time with Dark Knight. Dark Knight often seemed like the butt of the joke of Final Fantasy XI. I mean, we all say Lol Dragoon, but to be honest, how many jokes have you seen, made, experienced about Dark Knight just being sad, desperate, pain-loving? I mean, the whole quest line is like, you'll feel nothing but pain for the rest of your lives. Enjoy it. Which is why I'm curious how Brady Games approached it. Did they dive deeper into that? Did they consume that as well and just kind of go with the flow? Or do they have a different take? Let's find out. Dark Knights are the fighters who sacrifice a sense of self in the pursuit of joining black magic and physical prowess. Although poorly equipped for taking the hits, these vicious characters tear through enemies with impressive speed. As long as a warrior or paladin is around to distract incoming monsters, a Dark Knight will eviscerate the hapless monsters. Anyone who prefers to give rather than receive will be happy with the damage output of Dark Knights. I mean, I think that's a pretty good summary. This is long before, Dread Spikes was a thing, which allows for Dark Knights to survive quite a bit more than they used to, along with some of the other techniques that they gained. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's not a glass cannon, but it's no tank. The crystals shine for thee. Offense is the key to survival. Any good fighter must realize this. We of the Dark Knights forsake the role of the protector and use blades and sorcery to conquer our foes. With the best of both worlds, we can rip and maim with words and deeds alike. Nothing can stop us once our hearts are set at something. Do you want to wield this power? If you aren't afraid to abandon the protection of a warrior's training, or if the song of battle truly sings in your ears, our order is ready for a new initiate. Is that from the game at all? It kind of just sounds, I think Brady Games just made that up. Let me know if you know where that's from. Alright, so then we go into the many details about the Dark Knight job itself, the starting attributes, job treats, job abilities, spell list. I mean, honestly, this page is why I was always so drawn to Dark Knight, although I never actually made it very far in playing it. There's so much. Dark Knight gets so much, and I love those jobs that just have so many different abilities and spells to approach different problems in different ways. Now, when you boil that down to what is effectively useful in a general fight, it does get smaller, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, even just from a utility standpoint, the fact that Dark Knight gets Tractor and Sleep is amazing. Dark Knight was truly a job that you could either just tiptoe into, do the bare minimum, get decent output, or you could maximize with having enfeebling sets and absorb sets and everything to just really pull the most that this job had to offer. But let's get back to Brady Games and see what they thought. Dark Knight race choices. Dark Knights are like red mages in that many of their attributes are needed for a wide variety of actions. Thus, all of the races are good at different aspects of Dark Knight play. Using strength and dexterity is critical for dealing damage up close with those melee fiends, but having enough magic to blow past elementally weak foes is just as important. Well, I think that kind of undersells the concept that the physical damage is still king. And maybe Brady Games just had a more optimistic outlook on someday the Thunder 2 that Dark Knight can fire off at level 72 is going to be just as effective as a Black Mage's damage output with magic. I don't know. It was always the one thing I was a little bummed out by was, yes, you can burst with the Thunder 2. If you have a magic damage set, it might be decent. But at the end of the day, you're still stuck with that being a Thunder 2. And that's a lot of MP, which isn't super easy for a Dark Knight to restore. They've got a couple options, Aspers, special equipment that does refresh, but still, missed opportunity. Point being, I think it sells the concept that a Tar Dark Knight is amazing because you can just lean in on all the magic stuff. And while there's some element of truth to that, and I love the idea of a Tar Dark Knight, the overall physical damage is still the main driving force of what a Dark Knight does. Alright, Back to the race choices. Galka Dark Knights have few magic points to use, so they need to pick their targets very carefully in that area. Yet, the Galka toughness that is so well known that it prevents these Dark Knights from losing too much health when enemies turn to give them a stray hit. Even the best tanks lose enmity from time to time. Yeah, especially against a Dark Knight when like all of their abilities have provoke level hate grabbing ability. Isn't like Last Resort and Soul Leader are basically like, look at me. Elvan Dark Knights deal some of the best melee strikes in the game. With so much strength close at hand, there is a joy in being able to hit that hard with each attack. Very true. Elvan Dark Knights are pretty badass. Mithril handle all aspects of Dark Knight play with finesse. It takes somewhat more control during a battle to use Mithrite Dark Knights because they have slightly more magic and do more casting during casual fights than Galka and Elvan. That's an interesting like concept that they're just like, there's more MP to pull from, so you're definitely going to cast more, which I don't know if is necessarily the case, but let me know if you were a Dark Knight and you felt that like across different races. I guess, you know, Galka and Elvan may be much more careful about what they're casting. So from that perspective, yeah, I guess Mithra, Hume, and Tara are just going to be casting more because there's a little less concern. But I don't know, I wouldn't have read it that way, but interesting. I like it. Hume Dark Knights are fast on their feet. By getting behind their targets and slamming attacks home, they have no trouble either inflicting damage up at close range. With such a wide selection of support jobs, the Hume can try out Black Mage, Thief, Warrior, or whatever else they think might work. I love that Black Mage is thrown in there. We'll talk about that later with subjobs. Tara Dark Knights have enough magic to act as a mini Black Mage, and the slow rate of melee damage results in fewer incidents of monster aggression, allowing the Tara Dark Knight to choose their attacks. What is this about like the slower rate of attacks? You're still hitting... Galka and Elvan are also hitting slower. Like, why are they getting hate? Why is it the Tara? It's like, oh, they hit so slowly. They won't draw aggro here. Yeah. No, that's the only issue, is that all the abilities are still going to be pulling lots of hate. And if you're geared well as a Tara, you're still doing crazy Dark Knight damage. So if it does look at you, yeah, you're in trouble. The one positive, besides this mini Black Mage note, we'll get there, is, yeah, the MP pool's huge. So you can do stuff like stun, which of course is another huge hate grabber, so it's only momentarily helping you for a much longer window of trying to lose that hate. And yeah, I guess that's it. It's kind of sad that they didn't bring up, like, Dark Knight has one of the most unique aspects that really makes it very flexible from race to race in the absorb spells. Like, Galka could do absorb strength or dex depending on the fight and where they thought they needed to benefit, but Elvan with their huge strength and lower dex could always just do absorb dex to kind of level that out, whereas Mithra would probably do absorb strength to level that out, but you can only have one active at a time. I don't know, I think it's like a really cool aspect about Dark Knight that they kind of missed here, that makes all race choices a little bit more viable than other job options. Then we go into the Dark Knight extra job quest, which is talking about when you talk to Goomba. Oh my god, Goomba. Goomba got really heavily involved in the Voracious Resurgence quest line recently. He's talking about, yeah, you end up going to find Zide, who, when you meet him in the Palbro Mines, he gives you the sword and tells you to satisfy the sword's hunger, and you have to kill 100 things with it. If anybody doesn't remember, we did this live on stream on Eden when I was earning Dark Knight. It takes forever. It's a 666 delay greatsword with fairly low damage, and you have to kill 100 things with it. It is truly just like a painful quest. Like, there's no fun. You know, when they were designing it at Square Enix, they were like, this is like pure anime torture. We're like making them do what there would normally be a montage about this. They would show the main character slowly swinging away, killing 100 things, but you only see like 8 of those kills, and you get sweatier and sweatier and like more tired. But like, no, they're like, you're gonna do it. We're gonna make you do it. Not the worst quest in the world, because honestly, it's so memorable, but like, oh my god, so annoying. Playing as a Dark Knight. By the way, this picture below of little Tartar is part of what made me want to be a Dark Knight so many times. Like, it just looked so cool. First, find a good warrior or paladin to team with. Together, this duo will have a good time cutting a swath across Vanadil. A Dark Knight's role is to cut things in half while interjecting an occasional bolt of lightning. After some early soloing levels, join some parties with proper healers and tanks, then become the damage dealer. I mean, It's not wrong, but I love this whole like find a good warrior paladin. You need a paladin. How long to solo? Given a properly aggressive support job, you will pass through the low levels very quickly. There is no need to worry about the risk before reaching level 10, so get used to your new job while enjoying its deadly perks. After leaving the initial region, find a party and take the lead if they require an experienced hand. Otherwise, go with the flow and latch onto whatever they're pulling. Wait, what about Dark Knights make you an experienced hand? That's kind of a funny concept. Brady Games was like, there's a Dark Knight here, he knows what he's doing. He's been through shit. Like, what is that line? Yummy targets. Get used to hunting for casters and magical monsters as they don't fare well against the Dark Knight's high melee and magical onslaughts. In addition, Dark Knights have become better at fighting against arcane enemies over time, with both offensive and defensive bonuses being added at several levels. So that last part is very true, obviously, with, Arcane Circle and some of the traits. But this kind of makes me jealous. Like, yes, if you encounter, say, an elemental as a Dark Knight, you've got a couple more tricks up your sleeve than like a standard warrior. You could cast an element opposing the elemental that you're fighting. I don't think you get silence, do you? I don't think so. But you have like enfeebles of a magical type. You can do bio, bind, asper, sleep to get away. You can absorb the int of the enemy just to like kind of lower their magical attack a little bit. Like, yeah, you have options. But ultimately what it comes down to, and I think this is a detractor of Final Fantasy XI as a whole, I wish there had been more flexibility like this. You're still just kind of, you're a melee fighting an elemental with like a couple magic spells you can throw in there. I don't know, let me know if you think that I'm oversimplifying the benefits of Dark Knight against various types of monsters. But I love that they're saying like hunting for casters and magical monsters. Like, why casters? I guess they can stun spells, but I don't think that's what they're thinking. Party dynamics. Each party must have at least 2 damage dealers to keep the XP moving properly. Look for groups with a healer and a tank, then join while they're taking on nukers and hard hitters of other sorts. Working together, a paladin and a Dark Knight will become inseparable. Again, they bring up the paladin and the Dark Knight. Even with the warrior as a support job, don't try to tank unless it will save the life of another party member. Doing so will eat your mailer's magic points, and it just isn't cost effective. Hold off until aggro is settled, and keep the pace of the fight in mind to avoid peeling a monster off your friendly tanks. That's true. I mean, it's not wrong. It's just kind of funny. It's like, do not do it. Like, I don't remember them talking about that with Ninja. I haven't really looked at Monk yet, but I love the idea that they're like, do not, under any circumstances, tank as a Dark Knight. You will die. Like, they haven't even brought up Last Resort as a danger there. That just like with how much it lowers your defense. Last Resort lowers defense, right? It's like Berserk, but different. And Soul Eater just straight up takes your HP away. Again, no mention of these concerns. Spending time as a Black Mage. Here we go, guys. During your early training as a Dark Knight, it may be prudent to practice what is like being a Black Mage. This experience with magic teaches you more about the timing of spells, which ones to vary, and what ranges are best for casting things. Even a few levels of Red Mage training doesn't hurt. It doesn't take long to do this, and it certainly doesn't place you in harm's way. All of this can be accomplished long before reaching Dark Knight status. If you're building a warrior toward the quest to become a Dark Knight, level as a mage on occasion to get a feel for things to come. To be honest, that's not bad advice. Final Fantasy XI had very unique spellcasting mechanics in terms of when you could succeed at spellcasting if something is trying to hit you, ranges that aren't very clear, you just have to kind of get a feel for how far away from something you can be, which I think adds to the magic of Final Fantasy XI of Vana'diel. It makes it feel more real and alive. There's not like a line in the ground that turns green from red as soon as you're in range. You have to just kind of get a feel for that. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd tell somebody playing the game like, hey, just go play Black Mage for a little bit. But it's not bad advice. Like, you will be a better caster and get a better feel, especially as a frontline Dark Knight caster. If you're trying to cast something in the heat of the moment and something's hitting you, and you've basically never cast before, yeah, your skill's gonna be super low too. But you might just not understand the timing because it's not something you had to learn. But a Black Mage leveling from 1 to 10 has to figure that out, or like they'll probably die. Equipping items. Great swords and scythes are both popular for Dark Knights, plus they're quick learners with these heavy weapons. Because Weapon Bash requires a 2-handed weapon, mid-level Dark Knights and beyond won't often consider lighter weaponry. As always, damage dealers should upgrade their weapons and spells first, ignoring armor until all offensive lines have been maxed. The only thing I disagree with there, I get what they're trying to say, like ignore the armor, but stats from armor are often so critical in terms of your overall damage output. And I feel like that's kind of not really sold up on there. That's not bad advice. Like, you know, I mean, they're not wrong. Dark Knights use two-handed weapons. There was that brief period where a bunch of Dark Knights were trying out two axes, dual wielding axes, when Sub Ninja was so popular, but ultimately I think the Samurai sub-job change really killed that. Dark Knight is a main job. Dark Knights are very powerful in melee, so they are improved greatly with a melee-centered support job. This often buffers the character, allowing for increased defense in times of need, or better offense when battles go according to plan. Dark Knight Warrior. Very few combinations hit as hard in melee as this one. Rangers still outperform Dark Knights here. Oh, remember the days? But they must use expensive missile weapons and ammunition. Dark Knights are lower in maintenance, and it's enjoyable to play as one. With Warrior subbed, Berserk is used to boost damage, while Paladins and full Warriors grab aggro. The Paladins, again, I love how it's just like, you need a Paladin. Do not miss out on the Paladin. Dark Knight Samurai. Dark Knight Samurai do not have as much room for error compared to Dark Knight Warrior. Instead of causing heavier melee damage during normal attacks, this duo piles on the damage into larger waves. By using more special attacks, this Dark Knight can inflict stunning amounts of damage over a short period. Without a Warrior's defensive background, this Dark Knight is even less capable of surviving aggro, but it's acceptable if you want higher offense. So it's interesting, because when this was written, I have to assume that the Samurai change had happened kind of recently, where your TP from weapon skills was no longer as insane. So you can like spam Penethrust, or I guess in Dark Knight's case, what's that one? Oh my god, I can't remember. Hayden used to use it constantly. How am I forgetting this? Regardless, they were doing this before the Saigon Hasso change. So they just thought that Samurai was like a decent sub-job, but was less defensible than Warrior with, I guess, Defender. Obviously now, Saigon Third Eye offers Dark Knight a lot of protection, although it does have detrimental effects to their casting. But it's funny that they still thought, I mean, I guess, yeah, to be honest, it was still like a decent option. It wasn't the preferred. No mention of Dark Knight Thief, which wasn't very popular until Spinning Slash with Greatsword. Let me know if you know of a level range where Thief was popular kind of in the middle somewhere. I can't really think of any because I feel like Berserk was still more preferred most of the time. I don't know though. And I recently found out that Great Axe is great up until like the early 50s for Dark Knight, which is kind of crazy. Not something I really thought about before. All right, last little part, Dark Knight as a support job. In most cases, Dark Knight is a better main job than it is a supporting role. I think that's true. Though the increased melee damage from passive skills is nice, your character won't gain hit points or versatile powers of a warrior. Also, as a supporting job or non-magical job, Dark Knights can't bring more than a light spread of magic points into the character's pool. That's true, and outside of that brief period where it was like such an amazing sub-job for ninjas with like a Kraken Club and other crazy stuff like that, Dark Knight has had a weird history of support roles. It's actually pretty good at 99 now, with a lot of the abilities grabbing a lot of hate and just in general offering a little bit more utility than some other support jobs. But at 37, it had like kind of a rough history. Let me know if you think Brady Games did a pretty good job with Dark Knight. I honestly think they sold it pretty well. They had their little bits of flavor for the most part, all good information. If anything, I think they just missed out on stuff. I think there were other opportunities, other things to call out that they didn't. But overall, one of the best guides. Now I know why Hayden picked it. He read this, got great advice, and immediately just went off to the races. I have no idea. I should ask him about it sometime why I picked Dark Knight. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Fun stuff. We'll be back to 11 soon in streams. Speaking of which, if you didn't know, we do stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. We've been having a lot of fun with various games. Picked up Persona 5 Royal this week. Awesome game. I mean, not a surprise because like everybody loved it, but I'm only like 6.5 hours in. Having a ton of fun. Definitely tune in. We're probably gonna get back to that at some point to keep making progress. Really good game. Otherwise, guys, keep on the lookout for more videos, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. I know it can seem to take forever. Of course, as soon as you stop, somebody else will come in and immediately get it. Jeremy Adorbs. Dude, he's the best. Waffles, you're the best. You're the absolute bestest, Flute. Oh, you love the head scritches. You love the head scritches. The head scritches are the best. And the cheeky scritches.